evening. It's 7 o'clock. I would like to call the meeting to order, and if everyone could please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll begin with roll call. Bonnie Benz. Here. Sherry Rowan. Here. Mercedes Evans. Here. Michelle Ford. Here. Jennifer Hoover. Here. Melissa Packer. I'm here. And Emily Smith. Here. All right, great. We begin with a period of public comment. If you would like to address council, please come up to the microphone at the podium, and we'll make sure it's on for you. And if you could state your name and address, and limit your public comments to 3 minutes, please.
Someone's car went.
It was mine.
Oh.
Sorry. Good evening, Bruce Bigelow, 20 South 26th Street. You got us outnumbered tonight. I just wanted to say thank you for Stormfest. That was quite a nice setup. I was happy to participate in that, and also to be walking around and seeing all the different things that were there. It was really very nice. And for the first year of doing something, I thought it turned out very well. Anyhow. And the second thing I want to say is this project over here at 21st and Walnut turned out great too. So I appreciate all your hands in that too. So that's it.
Thank you.
Hi, Rich Vance, 2000 Princeton Avenue. I got something not directed to you, but more to public service, but had nothing to do with your tenure here. I was walking around today, and I noticed that the storm drains are either being cleaned or camera or whatever. And this was on Pennsylvania Avenue. And to get the storm drain cover off, the guy was hitting it with a sledgehammer because it's asphalted into place. So the next time the streets are asphalted, they got to be sure not to asphalt over top of the edges of the storm drains. I mean, the water could still go down, but you couldn't open it.
Right. Thank you. Okay. So, President's announcements. The only thing I would like to mention is that we're coming up to our favorite time of year and the most important work we do, which is the budget season. We will have a series of special budget meetings outside of our regular council meetings, and those will be advertised and posted to our website, Facebook, and whatnot. But I do want to point out that the first of these budget meetings is August 24th from 6 to 8, and that will be addressing capital improvement projects. And we encourage the public to attend and share their feedback. There'll be an opportunity for public comment. Okay, that's everything. So the next item is the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Thank you, Bonnie. And a second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, which includes the agenda for the meeting, the minutes from previous council and committee meetings, and the treasurer's report, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? So we are going to move on then to the manager's report.
Good evening. In my report, I've been spending a lot of time applying for grants and identifying projects that would be suitable for the grants. I don't just apply for grants because they exist. The one we applied for last week was through HAS for the Regional Transportation Plan Program, doing what we're calling an alternatives analysis for pedestrian facilities along the Campbell Bypass. Doesn't mean we're necessarily doing anything, but we're exploring what it would mean to have connectivity between the various sections of sidewalk along the bypass, so that we just have an overall vision. And there is already a plan that was developed for that, but we're kind of bringing it down into more detail, so we can. So we've applied for that. I don't know when that will be announced. The status for what I call the Eisenhower Walkway, which is also a HATS project, but it's much larger than the grant we applied for. We are in the environmental assessment phase of that, and since I going to acquire the right of way for the property at 24th and the bypass at 367 south, no, north 24th. And because that property is for sale, so anybody who's heard that property is for sale knows the importance of acquiring that. It's a temporary construction easement. I could talk about this subject all day, and I'd rather not. So, but what you'll note on the agenda tonight is that we have to allow engineers, without consulting with the borough engineer, to submit statements of interest because these are federal funds. So we get these random engineers, and the best one happens to be HRG. You'll see our recommendation within it, but we have to go through the exercise, and that's on our agenda later. I have so many college professors who would like to talk about Canfield Borough. I got a call from Johns Hopkins, and they would like to evaluate, sorry Jared, the borough's energy usage for all of our vehicles, all of our buildings. A lot of it we've already analyzed, but they want 2 years to compare. So our climate action plan leaders were involved in the conversation. I said, this is a lot. They said, well, it's worth it because then we can be the leaders when we say this is the borough's carbon footprint, the amount of carbon to be reduced by 2030. We can be the leaders and say, our own facilities, this is our reduction, how we're going to go about it. So that's what they're going to work on in Johns Hopkins. So now we have Shippensburg, Widener, Messiah, and Johns Hopkins all working on our climate action. So, a lot of smart people, smarter than me. Speaking of people who are smarter than me, we had a lot of terrific presenters at Stormfest. Thank you very much for your compliment. We had almost 40 organizations from outside the borough. That doesn't count all the borough officials, appointed officials, elected officials, staff, who I invited to assist us at the event, the fire department, the police department. Everyone had a chance to interact, and as Lester said, we're either going to get 40 people or 400, and it was probably almost 500. Jared said he wouldn't stand by those audited figures, but he was in charge of the clicker, and so we had some ideas, and of course everyone's saying next year, so I think we kind of, what?
As our inaugural.
But you guys, I really appreciated all of your involvement in it, because there's a lot of elected officials who wouldn't have participated other than just to stop by, say hi, but you were working, and we missed you, Sherry.
I'm also bummed. That's my kind of event.
Everybody was all hands on deck, and I think we had a good time too.
Who won the ring barrel?
Tammy knows. They did take them. We were afraid, like, if somebody, oh, Jared knows.
I don't know names,
Yeah,
but
no.
it was the first 2 people we pulled, both of them.
Yeah, we were afraid that, like, some kid would put a ticket in, and then they'd say, wait, we live in an apartment, but I both took them, and I hope you saw the pictures. They turned out really nicely. I had done a project like that before, and you let kids paint on a rain barrel, and it gets a little chaotic, and for me, that's fun, but for other people who might want to have something a little more attractive. So we had an art teacher that Audrey uses for our art program to make kind of a coloring book pattern, and one was for little kids, so it was big spots, and the other one, some of the older kids really did some neat designs. And we even had one adult, I think, that was painting, so. More than one.
There's 2 of them over here.
Okay. A variety of ages of artists who participated, and we appreciated Allison's being involved in that too. Also, I enjoyed National Night Out. I was in charge of, I think, the Bouncy House. Somehow I got put with the Bouncy House. It was fun. I just didn't really get to see anybody else, but that was a terrific turnout. You guys did a great job, and we had 2 weeks in a row with really exciting free events for our community, thanks to the efforts of our staff and our volunteers. So, thanks to everyone. And that's my report.
Thank you. And on behalf of council, I just want to thank you and all of the staff, because it was a tremendous amount of work you guys did to get Stormfest and National Night Out start with the mayor's report, please.
All right, we'll keep the thank yous rolling. Sarah, thank you, borough staff, for Stormfest. I got tons of positive feedback on it. It was awesome. An awesome evening. Also, National Night Out was another great ranking record. Chief, thank you very much. Michelle, I know she did all the work. Michelle Stevens, the admin, PG, put it all together. It was thanks to everybody that came and helped. Sarah, we'll put you somewhere else next year.
Just didn't know if I was doing it right. Well, I can watch it. I can watch it.
Okay, but thank you, everybody. It was a good week there last week. So, PD, reports in your packet. PD handled 645 calls in July. We have a new officer starting this coming Monday, Evan Ricker. We'll swear him in at 7 a.m. on Monday morning. So he'll be on doing this field training for several months before he's cut loose. Fire department, we handled 31 calls in July, 68 man-hours on those calls. We have another chicken barbecue coming up this Saturday. Shameless plug there. 11 to whenever it's gone. We're also we're going to have an open house on October 15th, Saturday. It'll be from 10 to 2. Another free event. It's usually pretty well attended as well. So we will see you all there. Our ladder truck is currently out of service. We have an issue, a mechanical issue with one of the lift cylinders. It may be out of service for a month or so. But not to worry, Laura Allen's truck is a mile away, so all's good. That's my report.
Fire department is collecting water bottles. Water bottle drive.
Yeah, we'll always take water. All the time.
You can drop off cases of water bottles at the chicken barbecue, or anytime you can just ring the doorbell. So it's very hot and
Yeah.
they start running low kind of around this time.
We certainly can go through it. Thank you very much for mentioning that. Thank you, that's what we're.
Great. On my end, the committee has been very busy addressing concerns about traffic signs in the building and kind of general vehicle and pedestrian safety concerns. So if anyone wants to raise any issues on maybe people not stopping at certain stop signs, or there's trees covering stop sign, we can kind of field those questions or those concerns to the right people. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 25th at 4:30 p.m. And there's one action item in your packets to approve the crossing guard contract with All City Management Services. Are there any questions?
I just have one question.
Sure.
I don't know who would have the answer. In the letter from Darren Farwell, he notes that this will mean significantly higher billing rates for most programs. And they look to increase the billing rate to $32.56. I'm curious, what was the rate, what was the previous rate?
So from my understanding, the $32.56 is not the actual wage. They're tacking on like Social Security, Medicaid, let's see what else, workers' comp. So in terms of the wage itself, it's always been around $18 and $19 an hour, and this is going to be about $19.25. But before, you mean like the total package?
But that somewhat similarly answers my question, but.
I think last year's hourly rate, again, $32.56 is what we would end up paying this year, excuse me, this school year. Last year, and I don't have that in front of me, but it was either $26 or $28 now. One other thing that we had inquired about, we did not make this a requirement, but their field supervision for the crossing guards was, at times, they were shorthanded last year, so they have increased the amount of hours for the people that are going to be responsible for supervising the crossing guards in Campbell this year. So we hope that that pays dividends as well.
So
it's a little bit hard for them and for us because it's such a short period of time and, you know, folks have to drive. So I think they're hoping that increasing the wage a little bit is gonna help with the recruitment.
And if the police department determine those, determine those in conjunction with school district, they're saying, I'm just wondering what to be or not be.
Yeah, we went, we eliminated, previously we had 2 posts at the bypass, one in Market, one in Trindle. We eliminated one of those, and so we funneled them all down to Trindle, so there is no more crossing guard posts at Market. And then the other one, which was probably our lowest volume, was right up here at Lincoln and 24th.
I guess my last question, regarding, so I guess the billing rate is, and this might be a question for Jared, but the billing rate is going up, but the overall amount is not.
That's because with the reduction of 2 posts, right?
Okay. And so we're still only budgeting half of the 76.
Right. It's a 50-50 split.
Any other questions? Okay, that concludes my report.
Okay, Public Works.
Just the Public Works Committee did not meet this past month, but we do meet tomorrow at 8 a.m. So I think some of the updates and some of the things that are covered in the Public Works monthly report will be updated with us tomorrow morning. It looks like it's been a busy month, and the storm inlets also too is noted that the my work crew that's provided to us through that office application. OER has done the 200 inlet market so far. A lot of work is doing and being done in preparation of the paving, and so that grant work will begin shortly. And then paving is still expected to begin in September. So that is that. We will talk more about those issues tomorrow. The agenda is available online. Before I turn it over to you, there is the action item that Sarah already mentioned, making my job much easier. But as a reminder, the project is within the PennDOT right-of-way and funded by federal dollars, and that we are required to complete a competitive proposal process for the engineer who will perform the construction inspection during the project. So we received 3 statements of interest, and we also have a recommendation from staff as to who should be selected, that being HRG. And so there is a table or a review and analysis of those 3 statements of interest in HRG. Again, group TD probably the firm we should select. Any questions, or we'll turn it over to Mike for any report that they have?
Yes, the only action item we have is HRG has drafted the stormwater management ordinance. You have our engineer's report in the packet, in accordance with the DEP 2022 model ordinance. The ordinance has been reviewed in the Public Works Committee and the Planning and Zoning Committee, and has been revised for committee members' input as well as input from the solicitor. So we request the draft stormwater management ordinance be made available for public review, and the solicitor be authorized to advertise the ordinance for possible adoption at the September 14th Borough Council meeting.
Mike, can you just, well, never mind, I'll leave that to Mike. Any questions regarding the selection of the TCIS, Transportation Construction Inspection Services? Any questions?
General questions about Public Works? I noticed a lot of heavy plates in the road. Is that tied into the pump station work? I was just curious if you could ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also noticed that someone's trying to clean the sidewalk, my dreaded sidewalk, on 32nd Street between Market and Lincoln. It looks like someone's trying to uncover the sidewalk there, so I'm excited. I don't know if that's something we're trying to do, but I noticed that.
We've had conversations, and that's partly what led into the pedestrian connectivity and things of that nature. But I don't know if there's been any new or additional.
3 houses are trying to continue the sidewalk. And I was just like so happy to see that, but it's a big undertaking, let's just say that.
Okay, Emily, community, business and government relations. Thanks. Okay, first the downtown coordinator updates. The first farmer's market, I don't know if you guys went, it was sweltering, but I went and I bought something from nearly every stand that was there. They have lots of good stuff. My daughter told me I need to buy all the tomatoes because she's going to make homemade tomato sauce from now on. So I'm going to be spending my fortune there. So please show up for the farmer's market on Tuesdays. All of the vendors seemed very excited when I talked to them to be there. So most of them take cards, so that you know, but a couple of them only take cash, so be prepared. Upcoming events, there's a ribbon cutting and business mixer at Serenity Skincare Salon on August 24th, and the Harvest Hop is coming up on September 17th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There will be live music, pumpkin painting, yard games, and more. So the main thing that I have on the agenda tonight is the MOU with the Downtown Camp Hill Association. So we passed the initial MOU in February, I think, but we are trying to do it on a yearly basis that is like to restart in July every year. So we want to go with fiscal year calendar. So we reviewed it once last month. Then we came back to it. There had been some concern about financial reporting from Downtown Camp Hill Association. They weren't giving us as much information as we wanted. So the main thing that we changed in the MOU was to clarify the reporting that we wanted to see. And they have since given us reporting that is the information that we wanted to see. So that is the main change in the MOU. We also moved some information, the part at the top of the MOU that says the Camp Hill Borough and the Downtown Camp Hill Association will work together to benefit the borough of Camp Hill as a whole. That paragraph was moved from somewhere in the back where it didn't seem like it had as much power as it does on the front page. So that changed, and then, as I said, adding the reporting part, and then in the what we're providing in actual value of things, we changed the farmers market cash contribution. So last year it was up to 17,000, I think, somewhere around there, and that is, we did not end up giving that much because we helped them to work with their budget a little bit. So this year we have changed it, especially since they've already done their upfront marketing, they've gotten their, website, logo, all of those things. So it says potential cash contribution of up to $10,000. So it's going to be based on how does the market do, and then we'll review and see what is actually necessary. So those are the main changes. So we're recommending that we sign that. Does anyone have any questions on it?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
And just something I guess I'm somewhat aware of. How inclusive do these guys have to be? You know,
Right.
like, are they encouraged to include all the businesses? Yeah.
So technically, as the formation of their nonprofit that they run, they're going in a Main Street approach. And so technically it's supposed to include the businesses in the downtown district, which is Market Street and one block on either side of that. So it is, their purview is that area, but they have the ability to have everyone participate. There is a section in the MOU where we ask them to get more sponsors and bring more people in. So that is included in it.
And then even some folks, I mean, I'm thinking, for instance, someone is within their district but feels excluded.
Right.
I don't know, I guess it's kind of one of those things.
It is an ongoing process that we are working towards. I would say we had, if you guys missed
I think almost everyone here has seen the community events survey that we did, that we sent out to the public, which was super enlightening. And when I went to the Downtown Kent Hill Association meeting, I shared all of the results, and I had very positive feedback from them, and they are going to use that to make their events more awesome. So we're working towards all of the things that we want to.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Michelle?
My question is only where it has the annual value. I
Yeah.
know that the potential cash contribution is up to 10,000.
Yeah.
Are the other ones
So,
firm, like it wouldn't be up to, it wouldn't be like,
right,
More
so the downtown coordinator salary is a fixed price,
Right.
right? Because we know what that is.
correct?
The downtown center membership is a fixed price. It's the same amount for them to be a member every year. So we pay that. And Julie is the, and Julie is the one that goes to those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So those costs are just fixed costs every
Okay.
year. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Parks and Recreation. Okay, just before I forget, our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 22nd at 4 p.m. The pool hours, they're going to be changing a little bit, so let me go through that with you slowly. So the August pool hours, open daily 12 to 8 p.m. From August 1st to the 23rd. Then the pool will be closed August 24th through the 26th. And Saturday, August 29th through September 2nd. So kind of when school starts during the week, it'll be closed. And then it will be open daily from 12 to 8, August 27th and 28th, so the weekend, and September 3rd and 4th, and 5th, so Labor Day weekend. And then September 5th, Labor Day, the pool will close at 7 instead of 8, so the staff have sufficient time to kind of put everything away. And the Halloween parade is set for October 24th with the rain date of October 25th. And trick or treat will happen to be Halloween this year, so it's on the 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. And also, the Holiday Market Subcommittee is under Parks and Recreation, and we've been very busy recruiting craft vendors. We currently have over 20 approved vendors, and most of them have submitted payment already for their space. The next thing we're going to be working on is the food vendors and the food trucks and contracts and those kind of things. So we're all very excited. It's coming together. Yes, and that concludes my report unless someone has any questions.
I have a question about the pool. Doggy swim, is that off the table?
Yes, that is off the table. It's too much for the staff and accidents with the animals, and it's just not something that's going to continue.
Yes. I shouldn't have a question, but it's not a question.
Yes, ma'am.
There, you said that you have 20-some vendors for the
Holiday
market.
market?
Yes. There's still room for more, right? So if anybody else would like to?
Yes, so this is the first set, and pretty soon we'll have a really, really good idea about just measurements and how many booths we can actually fit, but our goal initially was about 50. So we're going to start promoting the vendors that have already been approved to kind of get excitement out and the word out about the market.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Planning and zoning, Connie.
Okay, I have quite a bit tonight. So first, monthly report. The planning and zoning minutes from our last meeting and the code enforcement report is in your packet. In the month of July, the borough construction projects totaled $328,085, which I'm assuming a lot of it was does any of the sidewalk costs go into that figure? Okay, so it's just building.
That's just straight building project.
Okay, I was curious about Of note, this is just for public information, from our last planning and zoning meeting, we had a discussion about single-use plastic bags and straws, and the communities in Pennsylvania, as well as the states surrounding Pennsylvania, that are currently banning them, because, as you know, they are not recyclable, and they ultimately end up adding to the microplastics in our waterways and oceans. So we're going to continue with that discussion and see where it leads us. Now, update on our draft zoning ordinance. Last month, we sent the zoning ordinance on to the Planning Commission. They did review it, or began reviewing it, and they had several thoughtful comments that they sent to our consultant, which are being considered. So what we're going to do is allow for another month of review, and then hopefully in September, we will officially begin the process to send to county. But we feel it's better to identify any possible changes before formally beginning that process. Okay. In your packet is the ordinance on Chapter 118 to amend requirements for eating and drinking establishments. And as I had mentioned last month, because the borough has turned over responsibility for the inspections and licensing of eating and drinking establishments to the Department of Agriculture, as a borough, we still need to process the issuing of permits to these establishments to allow them to operate in the borough. So it has been, out for public review, and I don't know if you've received any comments. Okay. So that will come up later in our packet to vote on approval for that. Regarding ordinance, Chapter 187, with regard to the change we made to the overhanging height of shade trees, I will make a recommendation in the action portion to table that because unfortunately the Sentinel did not advertise it as we had thought they had. So we're going to advertise it and have this up for vote in September. Okay? And that simply was changing the height from 12 feet to 14 feet, just to remind you. Okay, the next big thing is the stormwater ordinance, which is in your packet. So what I did was, in working with Sarah, Sarah, in your packet, it says stormwater maintenance ordinance, but this is not the complete ordinance. So what I did was I just am going to point you toward pages where I think if you want to go and read the whole ordinance, these are the pages that kind of are the highlights of the ordinance. So I'm going to give you my little overview of the ordinance. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, requires all municipal separate storm sewer system permittees, that would be the MS4 permittees, which we are, to bring their stormwater ordinance into conformance with the latest guidance that they have given us, and it has to be in conformance by September 30th of this year, along with an end-of-year report. While most of the updates from DEP were, that are placed in this ordinance, they were required by DEP, we did have flexibility on projects that did not rise to the level of subdivision and land development. So what we agreed to in coordination with HRG was developing a tiered approach to provide flexibility to property owners based on, when they're doing building projects, based on their proposed impervious surface area that a building project will cover. So if you look at page 8, page 8 is part of the definition section of the ordinance, and it defines the minor stormwater permit, which is a category, and the major stormwater permit. So I'll give you a little review here. So there's 3 tiers, one of which is exempt an exempt individual applying for a permit has an impervious surface area that is less than 500 square feet. Let me see here. Yes, that's correct. Okay. So that might be a small patio, and it could be a deck. I don't know, a really small garage maybe. A shed. That's good. Yeah. So, what's that?
I get a lot of sheds.
Okay. So for this particular type of building project that's less than 500 square feet, generally those types of projects align with DEP's manual for a rooftop disconnection system, which is essentially a downspout that directs the water onto pervious ground, okay? So they are not really discussed in this because they're exempt. The next level is minor stormwater permits, and they would cover building projects where the impervious surface area is between 500 and 2,500 square feet. So that might encompass a large patio, garage, and addition. So these are mostly residential projects within that type of square footage. So the property owners and/or the contractors would be required to complete worksheets and forms to determine how much runoff the project would generate. Runoff could be best offset by best management practices such as a rain garden, infiltration bed, or again, a downspout disconnection situation. And if you look at pages 40 to 46, you can see an example of the forms and information that a person who would have a project 500 square feet up to 2,500 square feet, what they would have to fill out. The goal had been to make it relatively simple. It can be a little bit confusing, but I know Colton will be able to help them with it once these start rolling in. But there is a picture on page 41 that kind of shows the expectation of drawing your property and identifying where the new addition would be. Okay. Page 19, if you go back in your packet, is actually a list of the submission requirements identified for a minor permit in that square footage range. Okay, lastly, the projects that are greater than 2,500 square feet, which are mostly commercial projects or potentially the building of a brand new house. For those, the property owner most likely will have an architect or an engineer, and they would be financially responsible for any engineering fees. A bond or other financial security would be required for these major storm permits. So beginning on page 20 is a list of the requirements for a major permit, and that's just the beginning. There's a couple more pages associated with that, but we didn't print it all out. But that gives you a start if you want to look through the complete packet. All right. Let's see. So, with regard to these tiered permits, there will be inspections that will be associated with both minor and major stormwater permits. And this will occur during the course of the project and will be required for the closeout of the projects. But for major stormwater permits, as a requirement upon closeout, and this is important, an operations and management agreement, which is on pages 36 and 37, I think 37 might be missing here, but at least you can see where it begins in your packet. On page 36, that agreement must be signed by the owner and submitted to the borough to assure that the owner, successor, and assigns to that property shall maintain all facilities in accordance with the approved maintenance schedule that will be in that operation and maintenance agreement. And it also will require that the owner shall convey to the municipality any conservation easements to assure access by the municipality for periodic inspections or maintenance as necessary. Also, as part of the agreement, the owner will file the agreement with the recorder of deeds to ensure that if that property is sold, the future owner will understand the responsibility for the maintenance of the BMP. The borough will have the authority to inspect these BMPs a minimum of once every 3 years, and if the BMP is found to be not maintained, the borough will have the authority to cite or ultimately to lien the property. Are there any questions?
Yes. Before I forget, can I ask really quickly, the last thing you said, the borough shall have the authority to inspect at a minimum of every 3 years.
A minimum of once every 3 years.
Once every 3 years. That sounds like not the authority to, but the obligation to. Is that correct?
Yes and yes. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
maybe you can answer it better than I can. But the principle behind the agreement is to ensure that you have the access rights that are necessary to allow you to do that.
Okay,
Because
so the way
we do need
the
to
way
do
it's
that.
worded, it sounds like it's an optional thing, but one part, in a way it sounds optional, in a way it sounds kind of mandatory. Okay, so that is mandatory. My other question, and I might have missed this in the reading of the,
Can I clarify one
Yeah.
thing? The agreement doesn't obligate you to do that. The DEP regulations obligate you to.
Okay.
The agreement gives you the right to do it vis-a-vis the property owner.
okay, that makes sense. The other question was related to, like, if someone is replacing a shed and the shed was in place prior to this ordinance, is the expectation now that with the new shed, that even if it goes in exactly the same footprint, that they would have to have a minor? Yes, okay.
Although a shed probably would fall under the exempt.
Okay,
So
sorry,
there's
so something larger than that, but that's already there, but you're kind of replacing
Yeah,
it in the same
anything that
footprint.
occurs after this ordinance is approved, you would have to look through the stormwater ordinance.
I think you get credit for 80% of the existing impervious, so you have to offset the 20% even if it is an existing structure.
Even if it's the same footprint, the 20% of it needs to be offset. Okay, so you get something that makes sense.
And it's also cumulative, and I don't know that that's in our current ordinance. So you can't come in and say, I'm doing a shed, so that's exempt. And then next year you come in and say, I'm doing a patio, so that's exempt. It's going to accumulate, and that's why our record keeping is really important, so that we can track when people are coming in and so they don't circumvent the law.
And actually, in the
Not that anyone does
definitions,
that.
I did mention it in the definitions for the minor and major stormwater permits, it does specify that cumulative includes incremental and phased development. So yes, even though you might be doing a minor permit that does not require the filing of that information with your deed, the borough can look up that address and start, identifying, okay, this is an addition. Now it's getting into a larger, potentially over 500 square feet. Yes, good point.
What about people replacing driveways or putting in indoor pools? Similar thing, right? Not indoor, outdoor, sorry, in-ground. Right? Yeah. I know something. A pool would be a case of that too, right? Because now the pool is blocking the water from going down through. Or like say my driveway is like a rack, it really is, and pretty big, and it probably, it might be a major permit at this point if I have to.
Yes.
Probably would not, if it's existing, it probably wouldn't end up being a major permit, because you get credit for the existing impervious.
Oh, okay, so if I'm replacing something that already exists, if somebody's replacing a driveway, this doesn't affect that.
You're gonna have to do some effort, but not as much as if you were starting from scratch.
The 80% offset, she just.
Okay. And any administrative costs to run such a program? Is that something that like all boroughs are getting compensated from the Department of Environmental Protection?
No, but if you don't do it, they'll keep the funding away from you.
Right.
I mean, we'll have a permit fee, we'll have to, as this moves forward, we'll see what the permit fee, we would revisit that at the beginning of the year, I think. Usually you have a stormwater permit fee schedule, and actually, we might even bring that up at the next meeting.
Yeah, I was thinking.
For the larger projects, though, you're likely to be compensated out of the escrow or the financial security that's put in place for the major projects. So the borough cost should be fully covered by the developer.
Do we have a sense of whether borough residents currently are aware that they need a permit for things like a deck or a shed? I mean, I know they should be aware that we put it out there, but do we have a sense of how many people put things in like that without, yes, we know that they exist. Okay. So with this, we would want to really push the educational piece to make sure people are aware.
Only way to communicate to residents that this is a benefit or a value to our community. I did have a question. As it relates to the record keeping and keeping track of newly added impervious surface area, how or if would that be used in revising or revisiting the impervious square footage determined for the stormwater fee? Will it be?
That's for the stormwater fee or for the fee for the project?
No, the stormwater fee.
For the authorities
For
fee?
the authorities fee.
Impervious.
Because I don't know what the plan was as far as when, we have a baseline of everyone's impervious surface now. I don't know what discussion there occurred about revisiting that or updating it.
Whenever someone does a project, it gets added to the calculation, but there's tiers for the
Correct.
stormwater fee, so it takes a little while for someone, whatever they have currently, it's a pretty wide berth until they would hit the next level.
You probably need full-scale land development before it would push you up a
But we do track it, and we do have software, this isn't just me writing on the back of my hand, we do actually have tracking
Well,
software.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
So they automatically go up if they.
I mean, I'm not gonna guarantee you that there aren't notes written on the back of people.
No, but that's good to know in the sense that while there may be permit fees for this aspect of it, it doesn't necessarily increase the stormwater fee.
And, people, whenever there's a permit issued, it gets reported to the county so that, their taxes are adjusted as well. So there's a whole process every time someone takes out a permit, and so this is just one more step in it. We try to make it as painless as possible by just having the expert staff to assist people, but if somebody's walking in, they have to recognize that it's gonna require a little more work than it used to do projects like this, and there's reasons for it, and they should come to Stormfest and they can find out what this is.
The only other comment that I would have, which I just found out today, and I think it's important for those people that have dechlorinated pools, is previous to this DEP update, the borough did allow those pools to be drained into, I guess, the ground or stormwater. And now, no, they cannot be. I guess you have to have them professionally drained by a pool company or something. I'm not quite sure how you drain a pool, we don't have one, but.
It's got to go into the grass.
Oh, it has to go into the grass?
Yeah, it's never been allowed to go directly into stormwater inlets. It's supposed to go into your yard and soak in from there.
Okay, but
Which is still allowed.
I don't think, is it allowed, Mike? Because I thought Mike has said it was no longer allowed.
So per that section 701C, it states the following discharges are authorized unless they're determined to be significant contributors of pollution to regulated small MS4 or to the waters of this common law. So taking it as that, it sounds like it just can't be discharged straight into the inlet. If the MS4 system itself.
Okay.
As you mentioned, putting it into the grass, that kind of has the same leeway, I guess, as if something were exempt and we had the rooftop dissipator.
Okay.
There are measurements and regulations for that, how far it needs to be from, impervious surfaces to discharge and the lengths and all that. There's calculations for that. But I can certainly check into that more. Mike has.
I just know that was a change,
Yes.
so. Okay.
Can I just say one more thing, just because I'm sure we have a lot of people watching us on Zoom and everything. We're trying to get this out to as many people as possible. It's my understanding that currently, I think a lot of people don't know this, are not allowed to wash cars on the streets, correct? So I'll just kind of say that now for.
With detergent.
With detergent, so you could rinse it off with water, but you can't like wash with detergent. And with respect to the pools, I would imagine then like a salinated pool could also, even though it's not chlorinated, you couldn't put salt water right into the
MS4 system.
MS4 system either, so.
Okay. Let's see what Climate Action Plan report, I do not have a report for that at this point. They are planning on starting up with meetings again in September. And then B-City USA, we have received several applications to be on the committee through our website. And at the Stormfest, we received a sign-up of several people whom Sarah then took all of their email addresses and sent them the link to the application so we could get a little background on them. So we're kind of waiting to receive those, and we may follow up. But what we're thinking, instead of approving a resolution, which Sarah said it sounds like we don't need to approve the resolution until after we're sure about a committee. And that B-City doesn't require the resolution to join. Is that correct?
No, I mean, if you want to actually be recognized by the B-City USA, it's an actual organization.
Okay.
And so hypothetically, Borough Council in this case is taking the lead, but it's kind of designed that if you had a committee that kind of grew organically, that they would petition to Borough Council to have the borough become a B-City USA. So that's kind of the idea. We're kind of kickstarting it, but once the committee gets formed, then they would be the one to bring forward their plan, and then we would say that sounds like a great plan, and we'd like to be B-City USA, and then we pass a resolution, and we get groovy stickers and signs and bees everywhere.
So we'll discuss further the applicants and determine how many numbers of residents we feel would be good for a committee at our next planning and zoning meeting. Let's see, is there anything else? I think I'm done.
That's all. Personnel policy and procedures and stuff.
For the action part, we would like to appoint someone to the Shade Tree Commissions. We had applicants apply due to the vacancy we had on the committee. So I have someone with it.
Okay, and that resume is in everyone's packet.
Yeah, the resume.
Okay, Sherry, finance.
Okay, first I just wanted to say thanks to Jennifer and to Melissa for being at the meeting last month. I was on vacation, I appreciated it so much. Great notes as usual. So our finance committee met on the 28th of July, went over the budget to actual reports for each fund and discussed the schedule for our 2023 budget preparation. And there is a timeline for all of these preparation meetings, so please look at your calendars and make sure they work for you. Letters have gone out in the third quarter utility bills, so if you opened your bills already, I did do my bills, so I did see the little note, and I was very happy to see that. It lets the residents know that we will be re-implementing interest and fees when those third quarter bills come due. And also included in that letter is our new policy of when to send individuals, when we'll be sending those individuals to collections. Our only action item tonight is to approve the bills, but there is a few notable things. I'll just read this out. Some of the invoices we're approving tonight in the payment of these bills, about $21,000 of engineering expenses. And these would cover things such as the stormwater management ordinance, paving project, and some others. There's legal fees that we're going to be approving of about $32,000. So it covers about 2 months of our services and bills. There's also the monthly employee health insurance that we're going to be paying. It's about $47,000. The monthly Penn waste bill is going to be included here, $62,000. Electricity, water, gas make up about $29,000. And because a lot of our regular list of bills is in our report, so if you have any questions, please reach out to Jared for details. But that's my update.
For our school district liaison, we don't have anything until September.
Yeah, nothing to note. We're going to have our next meeting in September. I think it's September 27th. What I am doing is preparing right now just a summary of everything that's transpired since my last summary for that group, but I want to get it out to them on the next week or so so they can get an update on what we've been up to. So maybe they might have some questions that will emerge in the agenda when we get together.
Stormwater Authority liaison.
Actually, I was out of town, so Jennifer is going to report for us.
Yes. Now, I did attend the Stormwater Authority, so if I can read my handwritten notes here, and Mike is not here to save me, but Jared. Now, in routine business, of course, they've discussed the budget actual billing updates as well. There was some reminder and conversation, Jared reminded the authority about the change in the billing, the rewording or doing the 3 quarters instead. He also had noted that with August 31st being the next due date, additional revenue is anticipated from stormwater billings. The engineer, Mike, had provided an update on some projects regarding the 21st enrollment in Russell Road Drainage Improvement Project. And regarding that, the authority had approved 2 applications for payment, one of which would be a final payment for the Russell Road project. And also a change order was recommended and approved in an amount of $71,000 due to some cost drivers, and the authority discussed some initial inquiries about how to better plan for increased costs in the future. So Lester indicated that there's some changes perhaps coming with regards to how and what we plan and when that might help with that and alleviate some of those unexpected costs. And I guess regarding capital improvement projects, I guess continuation of the stormwater, the pump station, and the restoration project will continue as a capital improvement project. I don't think there were any other new projects discussed or on the table right now for consideration. And then lastly, I guess there was a new homeowner issue raised over regarding a request to reinstate a downspout into the roadway, like the issue we were just talking about. That was eliminated as a result of the paving and curbing work to address that sanitary issue over there with piping. So the authority discussed that, but ultimately concluded that due to other, due to stormwater best management practices and elsewhere eliminating those such downspouts that, go into the street, that was denied, and, staff would be communicating that to the homeowner. And then lastly, just as a reminder, and making residents aware, apparently over with the riparian buffer over along Creek Road, there are trees,
Library board liaison, anything?
They asked if we would let people know that there is a life-size Candyland program for families that's beginning this Friday, and that they are selling tickets for an upcoming kitchen tour on September 18th. And then we're going to be meeting again in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. And Capital Region Council governments.
So, just a reminder, the COG will be hosting an Armitage picnic and golf tournament on September 19th, which is open to the public. They have collected $12,520 in sponsorships, and registration for the tournament is due by September 9th. As far as information from the county, Commissioner DeFilippo indicated the county had received 322 applications for the ARPA monies. So the applications are being reviewed. He did not have a date when the grant recipients will be decided. He also, and I kind of vaguely remembered hearing about this in the past, he noted that there's a site location that is to be built for the Pennsylvania Dairymen's Association Education Center. And the site is being debated between Cumberland County and Adams County. It is to be built, it will be a Pennsylvania Ag Discovery Center for visitors who want to be educated on agriculture and dairy farming. So it sounds like a really cool thing. But we don't know where it's going to be. So hopefully Cumberland County wins. The next county hazardous waste collection date is October 27th. That's it.
Thank you. We have reached our second period of public comment. If you have public comments relating specifically to the action items that will follow in the new business section of the agenda, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
On behalf of everybody in the audience, a few things based on what your comments were earlier. Bruce Bigelow, 20 South 26th Street. Ms. Hoover, I'd just like to let you know that the Environmental Club was the one that planted those trees down in the riparian buffer. Mainly Paul Garrett, and he did a yeoman's job with that, and he was very distraught to find that 12 trees had been removed. Not just the trees, but the sleeves that were around them. Everything that was associated with it were taken away.
There are only 5 remaining.
We,
5? No. Yes. No.
what's that?
There are only 5 remaining down there right now.
There was, no. Is that right?
In that first section towards center.
Oh, the first section. There's many more than that down.
Yeah. All but 5 were pulled
They were all in the same section.
Yeah.
Which is a little strange, but that's what it was. In any event, we do have some replacement trees which we will be putting back down there, and hopefully they'll stay. We don't want them removed again. Secondly, Ms. Evans, I noticed in your report that there's a fairly sizable gap between Halloween parade and actual Halloween trick-or-treat. Is there some reason why it's traditionally about 2 days, and now it's a week?
It's only that way because of when the 31st falls, according to the policy that the borough has. If the 31st falls on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, it resorts back to the Thursday prior.
Mm-hmm.
Since the 31st falls on a Monday, it will be on the 31st.
Okay, we decided not to move it.
Before that policy was set, it was always on, a lot of the communities had it always on that last
Sure,
Thursday.
I understand that.
But that's not what we
But why didn't we move the parade forward so it was closer to trick or treat?
Because the 31st is on a Monday, we're not gonna have the parade the same day as trick or treat.
I understand that.
And having it on a Monday, we never had a rain date, now we're gonna have a rain date, and we're not gonna need it because we have a rain date. It's really not on Monday.
communicational part of the ordinances, I think is very important, that we need to get the word out to people. First of all, I realize now that for 42 years now, I've been washing my car in the street with detergent, and obviously I've been in violation, so. Sorry, Chief. I won't do it anymore. Don't take me away. But in a more serious note, I see in your packet almost every month, the Shade Tree Commission has met and considered trees that have been cut down by people who don't know better or don't want to know better, that they weren't allowed to cut that tree down. So that's another reason why it's important to have communication to the citizens.
Okay, seeing no other public comment, we'll move on to new business. Public safety.
I would like to move that we approve the crossing guard contract with all city management services.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, very good. Any discussion?
Just clicked it inside.
I mean, I'll comment just briefly. Does this preclude us from adding more crossing guards? Because I do feel like it is less than desirable to not have a crossing guard at Market Street.
Staffing's really been the issue. I think we would staff 8 if that was an option, but it had to be cut down because they just couldn't provide enough staff.
Right, but I'm just thinking with COVID kind of residing, maybe we could attract more people because we used to have enough before the whole COVID thing went south, so. I mean, as long as it doesn't preclude us hiring more, I'm game to approve this, but.
It's minimum 6.
And it doesn't, it would not include, and I think if we were able to obtain more crossing guards, we would come back to council and it would simply be an increase in the number of hours, the billable hours, so to speak.
Okay.
Again, that would be split between us and the school district.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that even previously, pre-COVID, I mean, there were some staffing issues which led to officer overtime.
Yes.
And the contract led to savings.
More people with higher salaries may come out of the woodwork.
I have a question that kind of follows with yours. So if there's no crossing guard at Market Street, children that live on Cumberland Boulevard heading toward the country club and the golf course there, if they walk down the sidewalk and they get to Market Street, then they are to cross Market Street to go by CVS and in front of Starbucks to cross over at Chestnut? Is that what we're saying?
Yes, if they want to cross, or their parents want them to cross where there is a crossing guard, they
Okay.
would need to go 1 block south further to Chestnut Trail crossing.
Because I don't think there's a sidewalk. Is there a sidewalk in front of CVS and
I
Starbucks?
think there is.
Yeah, okay.
There definitely is.
Okay. And is there a button right there? Okay, all right.
There's buttons at Market. and-
I'm not saying it's safe, but
Yeah.
Right.
there are crosswalks, buttons, and sidewalks
Okay.
all in that area, but it's definitely less than ideal.
Okay, there has been a motion and a second to approve the crossing guard contract with all city management services. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Public Works.
I move that we award the contract for engineering construction oversight services for the HAPS project for Eisenhower Walkway and associated pedestrian improvements to HRG.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for that. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of awarding the contract for engineering construction oversight services to HRG, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Emily, community business and government.
I move to renew the memorandum of understanding with Downtown Canfield Association through 6/30/23.
Any the MOU with DCHA. All right, all those in favor of renewing the MOU with DCHA for another year, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Planning and zoning.
I would like to make a motion to approve the advertisement of the stormwater management ordinance for consideration on September 14th.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'll just comment. I just think it's gonna take a lot of communication, and I don't know when it would go into effect, so that would be something I want us to think about.
It would go into effect on the 14th after we vote Vaseline.
You have until the 30th, but typically it's effective immediately.
We have to have it done. Okay. I just think there's a lot of communication that's necessary around the whole activity.
And legally, again, we can't postpone that one. So we'll have to do the education concurrently. So we have a motion and a second to approve the advertisement of the stormwater management ordinance for consideration at our next meeting. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-05 to amend regulations for eating and drinking establishments.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second for the ordinance. Any discussion? All right. So all those in favor of adopting ordinance 2022-05, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
And lastly, I would like to make a motion to table ordinance 2022-06 to amend, which would amend section 187 regarding the overhanging height of shade trees until our September meeting. And we will bring it up for vote again.
I'll second.
All those in favor of tabling the ordinance amending the overhanging height of shade trees, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Michelle, PPP.
I move to appoint Joshua Levitsky to fill the vacancy on the Shade Tree Commission.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about Joshua Levitsky's appointment to the Shade Tree Commission?
It's more of a general comment. These commissions and volunteer activities that we have going on, I think they're really important, and I think that I'm so impressed by what the Shade Tree Commission has been doing in terms of monitoring things. It's like, how do we make sure that those commissions who are receiving volunteers are happy with the people that are volunteering? Meaning, like, if I'm on a committee and we're having a great, we're on a roll, everything's great, but all of a sudden, we end up appointing somebody who can't work well with others, and it just brings down the whole group. How do we vet that part of, like, I can look at the resume and I can be like, oh, this person's great, but I haven't met them, so I don't know how I can approve them. Just as a general comment for people to react to.
I would just say the Shade Tree Commission, if so wanted, could review the resume that's in the packet, us also, and before public comment and share any input or opinions as if they want to do it in person.
I mean, my thinking is that any candidate should be vetted by a committee that they're joining, so we can say the resume looks great, but that person should then meet the committee and have the committee decide if
I
they
don't
want
think
to.
that's appropriate at all.
No.
I think that perpetuates committee membership clubs, like no diversity of new opinions or perspectives. I think it's our, people elected us because they trust our opinion on this matter, and it's our job to do that. Now, if there's a dysfunctional committee, that appropriate staff person who is attending that, I think, would tell us, and we would, I'm sure we can remove someone from our committee if we need to.
But in your PPP group, I mean, not only are they looking at the resume, but they've met this person and talked to them. What's the process there? Like,
Typically, Michelle calls, especially when there are multiple candidates. This was the only candidate for this position, and they were so perfectly suited to it. Although I believe I've met this person before.
Uh-huh.
They
Okay.
were part of the the Chick-fil-A kind of Safe Streets Camp Hill. So
Oh,
I have
that's
met
good.
this person before.
I just wanted to make sure, because it's hard to approve somebody just based on a resume.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we don't know the person, Michelle or someone from the committee has a phone call with them, but I knew that Jennifer knew this person and I had met them once or twice. Okay.
Yeah, with that, thank you.
But yeah, I think while there is a tendency to want people on the commission to meet them, we don't know that the people on the commission are always the best suited
I get it. I
to
just,
judge or necessarily the best people to be on the commission, so sometimes that new blood is a good thing.
thank you.
We appreciate all our current commission members. Okay. So we have a motion and a second to appoint Josh Zelinski. I don't think we voted, did we?
No.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of appointing Josh to the Shade Tree Commission, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carried. Sherry.
Okay, terrific. For finance, I make a motion to pay the checks in the amount of $269,297.04.
Second. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor of paying the checks this month, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. All right, great job, everyone. We have reached our final period of public comment, which is open to any comments in general. You guys know the rules at this point. Okay, thank you. Closing remarks by council. I'll start to the right this time. Sherry.
No remarks, but I feel like we're on a roll here, so let's just keep doing what we're doing and communicating more with the community and just keep making a difference, everybody.
Thanks, Sherry. Mercedes.
I accidentally left something out of my Parks and Rec report that was pretty important. The U.S. Board of Geographic Names at its July 14th, 2022 meeting approved the proposal to make official the name Blackberry Spring Run, for a stream in Seabrook Park. It was an unnamed tributary, and it went through the committee, and Nick Decker just did an awesome job with the application. So I just wanted to give a shout out.
I just wanted to say thanks to HRG and Mike Hess in particular for working through all the details for this stormwater ordinance.
Actually, I do want to add, I have something, which is thank you for doing such an amazing job explaining all of that to council. That was really great.
Grateful to neighbor, Josh Zelinski. I'm very happy to see him. I think he will be a great addition, so I was very happy to see that recommendation and his interest to serve on the Shade Tree Commission. Two other things, Michelle and Melissa and I had the opportunity recently to participate with them in the municipal league, not participate, but attend, the municipal legal update training offered by the State Association of Boroughs, so that was very informative. And then lastly, before I forget, the climate action report reminded me, and Sarah, your report about the greenhouse gas inventory. I know Mr. Durbach is also interested in knowing whether or not we have any model sustainability related ordinances for his law student. So he does a clinic, and I helped on the panel last year, so his law students will draft legal ordinances on a variety of topics, so we would inquire as to whether or not we have any particular ordinance for them to consider.
I have a community and business relations meeting tomorrow for, please come. We have a full agenda tomorrow. We'll be talking about just about everything related to the community tomorrow. Also, I just want to say thank you to Sarah and all of the staff and chief and mayor for the awesome events that have been happening. Stormfest was amazing. I loved painting Marine Barrel, and I loved playing all of the water tables. And also National Night Out was super fun. So thanks. Hope to see you tomorrow at my meeting.